Good morning friends. Welcome to this new course Linear Algebra Part 3 that is subjected to vector spaces. And the content is row space and column space of a matrix with the listed sections. In the first section we are going to study row space and row rank of a matrix. In the second section we will study column space and column rank of a matrix. Then is the echelon matrix and then is the rank of a matrix. I hope you will enjoy this course a lot. Thank you so much. And now in the section 1 we are going to study row space and row rank of a matrix. And the definition is, let A be an m by n matrix which is denoted by A, I, J. These are the elements of m by n matrix, right? Here m denotes the number of rows and n denotes the number of columns. Very fine. Okay. And this Aij, these are the elements of the matrix. And let Ri be the ith row of the matrix, right? If I am talking about this R1, then this is this one. This is the first row of the matrix. Then R2, this is the second row of the matrix. And here Ri, that is the ith row of this matrix. And let the elements of this ith row be Ai1, Ai2, so on, Ain, because the number of columns are n. Now what is Ai1? This is your row and this is your column. Suppose this be the ith row, right? This is your ith row. And what is Ai1 then? The element in the ith row and the first column. This is your first column. This is the ith row. So this element, this is your Ai1, right? Okay. Then what is Ai2? Ith row and second column. If this is first column, C1 let's say, this is second column, this is third, so on, this is nth column. Then Ai2 will be the element, ith row and second column, this. So this is Ai2, this element. Likewise Ai3, so on. So these all are the elements of our ith row. Fine? Okay. So let Ri be its ith row in which at least one entry of Ri is different from 0. Suppose this entry be, let's say, suppose this entry is 0 and this entry be also, let's say, 0. Let this entry be, let's say, 4, that is different from 0, right? So at least one entry that is different from 0. Not necessarily all the elements are 0. This element can be 7. This element can be again 0. This element can be 4. So they are saying at least one entry of Ri is different from 0. Right? At least one. Right? Then, what is the leading entry of Ri? It is the first non-zero element. Right? If you get the first non-zero entry in the ith row, then this entry will be your leading entry. Right? Suppose in the second row, you will get this element to be as, let's say, 0. This element be, let's say, 4. This element be 0. And this be 3. Or this be 7. Then what is the leading entry? This fourth is your leading entry for the R2 row. So what can I say? I will say that this 4 is the leading entry of the row R2. Right? Okay. Now in your mind the question arises as, what happens if this entry, the next entry be also some non-zero element, let's say 8. Then also the leading entry is 4. The first non-zero entry, right? That is the leading entry for the ith row. So the definition is, The first non-zero entry of Ri is called the leading entry of Ri, right? Okay. Now, if the column index of the leading entry of Ri is denoted by Li, suppose for the second row, the leading entry is 4, right? So the column index for this leading entry will be denoted by Li. Because ith is 2, so the column index will be L2. And for the ith row, if this 4 is the first non-zero entry, that is the leading entry, then for this, then the column index of 4 is Li, right? This is for ith row. And the column index for R2 row is, yes, it is L2, right? Because it is denoted by I. So for the ith row, the column index is Li. For the second row, the column index is L2. Fine? Okay. So they are saying if the column index of the leading entry of Ri is denoted by Li, then Aij is equal to 0 for j less than Li, and Aili is non-zero. That is the leading entry. So thus, Aili is the leading entry of Ri. Suppose this is column 1, this is column 2, this is column 3, this is column 4 up to column n, right? Let me consider this element A24, the element for the second row and fourth column, right? Suppose this is your leading entry. Leading entry means the first non-zero entry, which means rest of the entries are 0. Rest of the entries are 0. This is the first non-zero entry, right? What is the column index for this entry? That is Li. So the column index for A24 is Li, because I is denoting the number of row. So I should write here for A24 as Li. I is 2 here. That is the second row. So this is L2. So they are saying that Aij is equal to 0 for j less than Li. Now what is L2? L2 is here. Yes, where is the leading entry? A24. Here is the leading entry. And what is the column? 4. So here L2 is equal to 4. Right? The value for L2 is 4. Suppose if the leading entry is this, let's say 8, the first non-zero element, then Li for this leading entry will be 2. The nth column where the leading entry is present, you have to write that number. So for this, L2 is 2. For A24, if A24 is the leading entry, L2 is 4. For suppose if I am having the leading entry over here, then this is your third row, then I will say that L3 is 3. The value of L3 is 3. So what they are saying, Aij is equal to 0 for j less than Li. Let's say for A24, Li is, yes, L2. For A24, Li is L2. And the value of L2 is, where this entry is present, at what number of column this entry is present, at fourth column. So the value of L2 is 4. So they are saying all those entries for j strictly less than 4 should be 0, which means for strictly less than 4, this j is a number of, if I is the number of rows, then j is a number of columns. So for j less than 4, which means for j less than this fourth column, that is for first, second and third column, all the entries should be 0, 0, 0. Is it clear? Here j is 1, 2 and 3. That is first column, second column, third column. These are the j's. 1, 2, 3 up to n. These are the j's. The value of j is from 1 to n. Now for j strictly less than Li, that means for j strictly less than 4, For j strictly less than 4 means j will take the value 1, 2, 3. These are the numbers which are strictly less than 4 for j. Yes, so for these 3 columns, the present entries should be 0. So for the first column, this should be 0. For the second column, the entry should be 0. For the third column, the entry should be 0. But for the fourth, we are having the leading entry. As the definition of leading entry itself says that first non-zero element of the row, whatever row you are taking, is the leading entry. The entries before this entry should be 0. Right? Okay. Let's take another example. For example, this is your matrix A and this is your first row denoted by R1. This is the second row denoted with R2, third row and fourth row. Right? Okay. Please tell me, what is the leading entry of R1? It is 1. Very good. So 1. What is the leading entry of R2? Yes. First non-zero element. Yes, very good. 2. 2 is the leading entry for R2. What is the leading entry of R3? Yes, 8. This is the leading entry for R3. But R4 has no leading entry. There is no element other from 0, right? There is no non-zero element present in this row. Now the column index. Okay. Column index of leading entries. Alright. Column index of leading entry for R1 row is, yes, where is the leading entry? Here is your leading entry. And the column index should be denoted by, because it is for the first row, so it should be L1. The column index for the right row is denoted with Li. So the column index of leading entry present in R1 row is L1. Yes, and what is the value of L1? Where is the leading entry? It is present over here. At what column this leading entry is present? At the second column. So the value of L1 is 2, right? So write here 2. Okay, let me write the columns over here. This is C1, this is C2, this is third column, this is fourth column, this is fifth column. Because the leading entry present in R1 row is at the second column, so L1 is 2, right? Okay. What is the column index of leading entry present in R2? That is denoted with L2. Where is the leading entry for R2 row? Here is your leading entry, this 2 number, right? Okay. And at which column this leading entry is present? Fourth column. So the value of L2 is 4. Very fine. Okay. Column index of R1 row is L1. Column index of R2 row is denoted with L2. Yes. Column index of R3 row is denoted with L3. Column index of R4 row is denoted by L4. Now what is the column index for R3 row? It is L3. Where is the leading entry present at which column? First column. What is the value for L3 then? 1. Write down 1. Because in R4 row there is no non-zero element, so L4 does not exist for that. Okay. So this is all about the leading entries and the column index. So in the next lesson we are going to study the row echelon matrix. Okay, thank you.